Welcome to Pound for Pound ATL, arguably the best place to get facts and opinions on your Atlanta Falcons. And absolutely the best place to get your opinions in. The conversation starts now.
What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back again with another Pound for Pound ATL Live, joined, as always, by my main man, Toby D. Toby, what's going on, brother?
Hey, man, we here. Ain't no turning back now.
Oh,
You missed that train.
Yeah, no, it is here. It is on the track. We are done with the preseason. We are done with training camp. It is for realsies now. It is for keeps. We got the 53-man roster, which we're going to spend a good bit of time on. But I don't want to necessarily just jump right into that. But, excuse me. Bad idea to have red onions before you come on air and start doing a whole bunch of talking. I made this Greek salmon bowl. You know what I'm saying? It had like the couscous, which is kind of like rice, and then it had all the good stuff. Really good dinner. But red onions, not a great idea. I'm going to have to scratch that off on a Tuesday. Anyway, so Saturday we had our final preseason game, which we won, and convincingly too. There was no need for late second heroics. I know it was pretty much fully backups playing against fully backups, but when was the last time that we had our backups actually win and do something?
Yeah.
Not to my knowledge, it was brought to our knowledge afterwards that was the first preseason win in Mercedes-Benz stadium history.
Yep. Which
is crazy to think about. And this is the first time in I don't know when that we've had two preseason wins. Now, at the end of the day, none of that matters except for the fact that you're starting to build potentially a winning culture, right? Yeah. You're starting to have guys that are buying into what you're doing and what you're saying, what you're teaching, the schemes, the techniques, all that stuff, and showing that, hey, look, when you do what we tell you to do and we do what we show you to do, it works and good things happen. And that's how you get buying in. Now, if you don't think that it don't mean nothing, then go ask the Baltimore Ravens, who are continuously trying they beat Green Bay's record for the most consecutive, preseason games.
Right.
So, also this year, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this preseason game because I know everybody's here to want to talk about this 53-man, but I don't want to just gloss over it either because there were some good things that then will lead into this 53-man. One of the things that you needed to do that you haven't had to do in 14 years is you had to see ample playing time for a quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, the first game against Detroit, I'm not saying this is what they did, but it's almost all right, Marcus, get out there, get your feet wet, run around, do what you need to do. And that's what he did. He ran around, right? Both the quarterbacks did a lot of running in that first game. That second game, against the Jets, it was all right, guys, look, we saw that you can run. We're glad that you can run. Now I need to see that you can do this, within the framework of the offense. They didn't win, but the offensive passing attack looked much better.
Yeah.
In the Jets game. And then you come to the third game and it was all right, this is going to be the battle to decide of, who's the last running back, which that'll curtail us in the next one. And it was all right, let's see if we can actually get this run game going.
Yeah.
And they did. And they got some run game going. You got a little bit more play and pop out of your, 5th round rookie running back. He got to score him a couple touchdowns. So, it seemed like they had a plan of what they were attempting to do in each of these preseason games, and they went out and executed. So, in that aspect, that's good to see. You got to see that you're in this, game, the defensive line was actually bringing some pressure, which was good to see. And it was coming from up the middle. That was something that Arthur Smith said at the onset of the offseason, was we needed to get more pressure up the middle, of the line, collapse in the pocket. And, they were able to do so in that game against Jacksonville. Derek Tangelo, who we'll talk about here in a minute, got himself I think he got him a sack, and I know he got tackles for loss.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Timmy Horn, tackles for loss. D'Angelo Malone, showing, his ability to drop into coverage, which we're going to see probably a good bit in this upcoming season. So the things that we saw on display in this preseason game, or in this preseason season, were encouraging things. You got to see like some little bit more of an innovation on play calling. And if they're willing to show that at preseason, gets me excited for what they got up their sleeves going into the season. You saw, we did a whole video off the pistol and diamond formation.
Right.
That they were showing in preseason. So, yeah, it's been a fun preseason. I'm not sure when the last time I could say that.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. When's the last time we had edge rushers that can actually set the edge against the run, right? D'Angelo Malone is what I thought John Kaminsky would be. Right. Someone who can blow up them quick screens. We saw a few times in the preseason where D'Angelo Malone was getting out there on that perimeter and blowing them quick screens up to keep wide receivers from getting their feet going. And that is encouraging to see that athleticism from them guys. We learned a little bit more about what they want to do with Troy Anderson. This guy could be a blitzing machine, right?
I think that's going to be his early assignments, I think.
And so I'm definitely excited about that. And he has that athleticism too, to be able to get out there on the perimeter. Because if you can do those things, JR, stop them quick screens, stop the screen game, period. Tackle, they did a great job in not allowing extra yards after the catch. Right. Bottling up stuff like that. Guess what you do? Stopping that run, you give yourself the opportunity to rush the quarterback at the end of the day.
That's it. Like, to be able to, rush the quarterback, you got to put him in those situations.
Yeah.
You got to put him in second and long, third and long. You can't constantly have him in, second and favorable and third and favorable, like in short yardage situations, if you want to be able to pin your ears back and go get after the quarterback. So yes, I know the first game we were all like, oh, where's the rush at? Where's the pass rush? But the second two games, you starting to see him like heated up a little bit.
Yeah.
We saw in that Jacksonville game with the backups, we saw a lot of sim pressure and creepers show up in preseason. So it makes you realize, or makes you think that this coaching staff is getting comfortable with themselves again.
Yeah.
Getting comfortable with what they have on roster. The guys that they can trust, the guys that they can't trust, and what they can throw at them.
Yeah.
So, like coming out of this preseason, I'll tell you this: I still don't, I still don't have like high expectations for the season, but overall, I'm in a better place this year than I was this time last year.
Yeah.
This time last year, I was very concerned about how we were going to make anything happen, offensive and defensive. And because the guys went out there looking like they didn't have a clue what was going on. And it showed, especially in that Philly game.
Yeah.
So, but now it seems like the guys have a better grasp of what's going on. You have guys.
Man. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say you have guys who have been in the system, or it's their second year in the system. So, the understandings are better. It was very interesting to see Deion Jones out there on Saturday, as much as he was out there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's where I was going.
Go
That's where I was going. They tested Deion Jones Saturday, and he didn't look too happy with how they tested him. But we heard rumors in the offseason that an article came out that his leadership was in question.
Right.
And whether he really wanted to be there or not. And they were testing him to see. I mean, you saw Arthur Smith getting on him. I don't remember exactly what happened, but there was a play that he didn't do too well on. And as soon as he started going toward the sideline, Arthur Smith was right there to meet him and was like, what's going on,
Right, exactly. Like, do you look, like, do you want to be here? Or let's see if we're back yet. You still there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hopefully, it looks like we had a little bit of a hiccup with OBS. Hopefully, it'll reestablished itself. So, we'll see what's going on. I bet you I know why. Huh. Interesting. I didn't. Okay. No big deal. Everything seems about. There was one step I forgot, and we'll see if it gives us an issue. If it does, I'll fix it, but we'll see. Okay. Anyway, now on to why everybody's really here. Why at the 12-minute mark we have 90 folks in here. That is the 53-man roster. The first 53-man roster of the season dropped today, and we had some interesting cuts.
Yeah.
We had some. There weren't too many outside of the solid starters. There weren't too many of the actual projections that I got right, which was interesting to me. I know on Twitter we were going back and forth on who was going to be the fourth running back, so to speak. We felt like Cordell Patterson, Damon Williams, Tyler Algier were locks, but who was going to be the the fourth or fifth? Was it going to be Avery Williams? Was it going to be Quadre Ellison? Was it going to be Caleb Huntley? Well, it ended up being Avery Williams. Because both Quadre Ellison and Caleb Huntley both got initially chopped. Which I guess you could say, I thought one of them would make it because it looked like they were deciding on both of them in that game against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So the fact that both of them got cut is interesting to me. Now, Smith said something that we should all keep in mind for the rest of the next few days. This 53 ain't the 53 that they're going to have when they open up against the Saints. There's going to be more changes. You're going to have guys go on IR, which would be, I would imagine, Marlon Davidson would probably go on IR. Possibly Jalen Mayfield might go on IR, because he's dealing with a back injury.
Mm-hmm.
So he might go on IR. You got the tight end out of Georgia,
John Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick.
Mm-hmm.
He may go on IR. So there's three guys right there that you might open up 3 spots for. What were your thoughts when Anthony Ferkser and Michael Pruitt got cut?
I would tell you what, I thought it was a joke at first because when I went back on Twitter and it's like Anthony Ferkser and Michael Pruitt are cut, notable cuts. And I'm like, wait, hold on a second now. This don't make sense.
Right. I want to pull this up real quick. Let's see here. Right now, your tight end room is John Fitzpatrick, who's probably going to go on IR, but John Fitzpatrick, Felipe Franks, Parker Hesse, and Kyle Pitts. Out of those 4, you got 2 real tight ends. Obviously, all-world Kyle Pitts and tight end / fullback Parker Hesse. So, as such an interesting, as tight end heavy as we feel like, Arthur Smith is, you're only carrying 4, and you're like, well, yeah, 4 is that. Yes, but 2 of the 4 is a rookie and a converted QB. That just, that's shocking to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's one of those deals where, they told, Ferkser and Pruitt that, hey, both of you should clear waivers. And when you do, we'll re-sign you two. Or one of them. It's interesting that they felt like they didn't want to risk Felipe Franks on 2 waivers.
Yeah.
That part is interesting to me. What'd you make of that?
I can't wait to week 1. That's what I'm going to say. That's how I'm going to make of it, because like I was saying before we got on the show, apparently what we thought we saw, we didn't see, because they didn't allow the personnel that they've chosen now that on the final 53 to do a lot of stuff, right? They only had them doing certain things they really wanted to see. And with that being said, we're going to have to wait to week 1 to really see what their strategy is, or these few days to see if they're going to make some changes with that. Should they put some guys on IR like Marlon Davidson, John Fitzpatrick, and so on? We're just gonna have to wait, man, to see how that's gonna unfold. But man, I don't know what to make of anything right now at this point. I do like what has happened and transpired, because it shows me that we may have more depth than what many of us realize on the roster.
Well, they must feel more comfortable about what they have. They must feel very comfortable in, just take the D-line, for instance, what they got in Grady, Rush, and Graham.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because that's pretty much been your starting D-line since the beginning of camp. Especially since Goldman retired.
Yeah.
Like when he retired, then like it pretty much from that point on was, Grady, Rush, and Graham.
Yeah.
And then now you got to figure, with leaning as much on Rush as they are, they're definitely not shy about putting in like lower tiered guys like a Timmy Horn or like a potential bring back or practice squad guy in Derek Tangelo.
Right.
Like, because Timmy Horn made it.
Yeah.
And this is what I was trying to like prepare y'all for, in previous drafts or even upcoming drafts, guys like Timmy Horn or Derek Tangelo could have easily been a 5th or 6th round pick.
Yeah.
And so, the fact that we're looking at them as, undrafted guys making the roster, I think that, it says more about how many draftable players there were in this particular draft.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Dancing King got cut in Frank Darby. I know, like, we got some people in the chat kind of crying about Darby, but in 2 camps and 2 preseasons, he made 1 notable catch.
Yeah.
And the only other thing he was notable for was his dancing. So, yes, everybody likes the energy. He's a great locker room guy. But at some point in time, you got to bring it on special teams, or you got to bring it in like your position.
Yeah. You can't let Jared Bernhardt come in here who hadn't played a position before, straight up whip you up and down.
I mean, run you off the daggum field. Like, you got highlights of undrafted Bernhardt making touchdown catches in front of Sauce Gardner, who that, through studying Desmond Ridder and everything else, that they had up close and personal, looks at Sauce.
Yeah.
Like, I think he made the team that day.
Yeah.
When he made that catch in front of Sauce Gardner, they're like, yeah, this dude's got it.
Yeah.
And the fact that he also brings some versatility. You saw him back in the return game.
Yeah.
You've seen him just, being a special teams player. And then you have like just the overwhelming athleticism, like showing up on a regular basis in the games. So you're taking what you got in practice and then showing up, in games. So that was definitely a guy that they definitely did not want to expose to the claim, to the waiver wire. Mm-hmm. Like, they definitely did not feel comfortable. Like, and Darby may be back on the practice squad. Like, a lot of these guys that we're talking about right now might be a practice squad candidate. Derek Tangelo, Frank Darby. I was actually kind of surprised that Tyler Vrabel made it, because from what I watched of him, he wasn't super horrible. And I figure, when you're not super horrible, you bet on age, versus like an older guy. You bet on the fact that he's got a higher ceiling because he's still learning, kind of deal. So there was another like some very like interesting cuts there. You had Mike Ford made it, which I was kind of shocked there that he was able to make it. But and him and Darren Hall, they've kind of had both. Darren Hall had a rougher preseason than I was hoping for.
Yeah, he had a rough preseason, but his camp film was pretty good, and I think that's what they're banking on. Just he had a few rough patches that he can kind of get back to the camp form that he was displaying throughout camp and look better, especially in a game plan scenario, which they're going to be in next week against the New Orleans Saints.
Right. I know the entire like Falcons community wanted to see Jalen Mayfield get cut, but I gotta wonder if he ends up on IR or at least a short-term IR with whatever back injury he's dealing with, if it's serious enough to put him on IR. But I did think, other than the costly penalty, I thought he had like a pretty good series or two against the Jets. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're just not ready to give up on him just yet, as we are definitely ready to give up on him. So let's see. Is there any other like notable?
Abdullah Anderson.
Okay.
Somebody we hadn't touched on yet. I mean, I know he just came to the Falcons, but man, I mean, for him to get there when he did, he was turning it on, like especially against Jacksonville. And I know it was getting second and third stringers, but dude was just whipping through there. Like he was in the run game, in the pass game. I think he's definitely someone you have to consider, like you did last year with Mike Pennell and Anthony Rush when you put them on the practice squad, bringing him to the practice squad.
And that may be a deal that they bring him in there like early on and, let him, because he was such a later addition to the camp. That might be what their intent is there. How about, well, you know what? We're 24 minutes in, so let's go ahead and get into the to the chat room here. We'll consider that our opening salvo, because they're bringing up names, and we might as well just go ahead and do that and talk with them as well. All right, here we go. Chris Jameson says, "What's good, fam? What's going on, Chris?" Your boy Deezy says, "Yo, what's up, pound for pound? Week 1 can't get here quick enough. We got about 2 weeks, so we got a little bit of time." Woon Carter says, "Rise up, pound for pound family. Glad to be in attendance tonight. What a day at Flowery Branch. It has been, like, this is always an interesting, because as much as we talk about somebody getting cut, this, that, or the third, like, somebody did, people lost their job today. You know, for some folks, this is probably the last time they'll ever play football. Yeah. So, we have to kind of, like, couch that in the right frame of mind." Bradley Burnett says, "What up, guys? Our defense looked well put together this last week. Troy Anderson with the pressure at the end of the game to help set up with the INT." Right. I was glad to see Anderson, after not seeing him the first 2 preseason games, to see him get in there was good, to see him bring that athleticism. Jamal says, "What's up, pound for pound family? How y'all doing today?" Man, I was doing great until I ate them red peppers. Or not peppers, and red onions. Whew. They are kicking back right now. Brandon Tucker says, "Bernie, he made it." That's right. Bernhard is. I think this is the first time I can remember in forever that a fan favorite, like undrafted guy, there's always one every year.
Yeah.
That the fan favorite guy actually made it to the 53. Martin says, "Very surprised about some cuts that happened today. Tabor and Tangelo and Olsen, just to name a few. I do trust Arthur Smith, but head scratcher for sure from the outside looking in." Yeah, the running backs for sure were interesting. And the two, like I said, the 2 biggest ones for me were Ferkser and Michael Pruitt. I had essentially just put them as locks, and I was totally off there. Bubblegum says, "Avery Williams' versatility got Olsen cut." There's something to be said there, that Avery Williams, he's a returner. He can, in a pinch, can play corner and can give you something on offense. So that you definitely got a point there.
The more he can do.
That's it. Let's see. Martin says, I was happy to see D. Alford make it. Yeah, our guy,
Yeah, man.
Guy from CFL, D. Alford, who's been shining since freaking spring, and he just kept on shining. So, yeah, he definitely earned his spot. Rexon says Bernie makes for a great backup wide receiver for cheap. Yeah, I think he can end up being, a slot guy for sure. And almost somebody brought it up later down the line, but give you that I could see his face, the dude from the Patriots, not Welker, not Amendola, the other guy.
No, not Amendola. Man, it's slipping it's slipping me.
Somebody's
right
gonna catch me in chat, but it's not Wes Welker and it's not Danny Amendola. It was the other guy. I really feel like that Bernie could be that guy, could be like that for us. Dex says,
I can't even think of it right now.
Dex says, what's going on, fellas? God bless your channel and you as well. Thank you for that. He says, big ups, Toby, and much love, JR. Appreciate you being in here, man. And thank you for the blessings. Nick says, wish Olsen and Huntley would have made it. I feel like one, if not both of them, are going to be back as far as on the practice squad. Let's see. Mohead says, first time chatting with y'all live. Cool. Just wanted to say,
hey, man.
I appreciate y'all. All the great content. Also, I don't know about the team, but I feel great about the coaching and play calling on both sides. I hope people feel better, at least this far, because I feel like we have seen more in this preseason than we did last year, and I think you're starting to really see this, the type of team that Pease and Smith and all those, Fontenot, all those guys are really trying to build. Bubba Gump says Smith and Pease will be opening up the offense and defense with improved roster. Yeah, next year is going to be a real good tell, but I think they're going to be getting more into it this year for sure. Mark Turner says, I guess they're waiting to put Mayfield on IR to bring up Anderson and Tangelo. I mean, like I said, the 53 we got right now, I can almost guarantee you is not the 53 we're going to have even on Friday. Your boy Deezy says Bradley and I and Danny Shelton ? I would love to bring in Danny Shelton and Bradley and I. I know in the draft process he was a guy that we were pretty high on.
Oh yeah. He had a good Senior Bowl, but hasn't done anything since.
Not as of yet. Rex says, I love that we're picking up players that have played multiple positions over their football career, which only adds to their reaction and feel for current positions. Anderson, Algier, and Hawkins, etc. Yeah. Again, it's the more you can do. So it says, there it is. It's Fred Butts. Fred tipped us $2, which we appreciate greatly. He says Falcons are going to shock people, even Mariota, or even with Mariota. And they may. That's what they're hoping for, right? They're hoping that people don't take them serious. All right, get back up into, let's see, Archangel says, Olsen, that's my biggest shock. Just Johnson says, what up, y'all? This is Big J from open practice Saturday. I was in front of y'all, really cool guys right here. Well, thank you. I'm glad you, okay, I remember the gentleman that we talked to. I'm glad that you decided to put a chat in there. Let's see. Mohead says, normally fourth running backs don't dress for games. At least this way you're getting solid production from a four stringer. Ultimately, that's every year. That's what we end up doing, right? We end up arguing about guys who spend the vast majority of their time as inactive, right? But it's still fun. It's what we do, right? Let's see. Chris says 3 guys on IR and a Jones trade would have 4 spots open. Who would you be interested in? All right, say we do get 4 spots open.
Woo.
What you doing with those 4 spots, Toby?
I'm telling you right now, I'm putting Abdullah Anderson back on the roster, Derek Tangelo, and Nick Thurman back on there, because I think all of those guys had an impressive performance on Saturday. They need to be back on the roster.
Okay.
From Persker would definitely be the fourth guy to put back on there.
Yeah, I think I'd be. For me, I think I would with 4 spots, I'd probably put on the roster, either definitely Ferkser, if not both Ferkser and Michael Pruitt. Because I think with those guys, there's a lot of things you can do formation wise, and I would definitely be bringing, Derek Tangelo, and probably Abdullah back as well. I think that would be, a real good way to use those spots.
Yeah.
Let's see. David Wells says, clear that most people are not watching the film. Felipe Franks is a special teams ace. He's definitely he gives you that a lot of times he was a personal, the personal protector on the punt and on the kicks. So he does give you something there. All I'm saying is like my only real problem with Franks, if you're still like in your mind classifying him as a QB as well, my problem there is every time he comes in at QB, the offense completely dies. Like you saw that in the Jets game, and you saw that at the end of the Jacksonville game. It's like, at QB, Franks can't move the ball.
They didn't even hardly trust him to throw.
Right, and that's the part that, like, so if you're still playing with the idea that, oh, he's an emergency QB, okay, fine, whatever. But, I'd just say move him to tight end and leave him there.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting that in that aspect, an undrafted tight end makes it over Ferkser and Pruitt.
Yeah.
That's the part that's kind of interesting to me. David Wells also asks, Timmy Horn is 325-pound dog. He can play both nose and 3-tech, and actually was an under-the-radar beast at Kansas State. Yeah, that he was. And he's showing it. So,
yeah.
False Start Falcon says Bernhardt did more in one preseason game than Darby did in 2. Yeah, and that's what got Garb. Darby had that one real good catch on the sideline from Ridder, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Jared Butler says, Pound family, what's up? Our boy Alfred made it. Toby and your boy 83. That's right.
Yes, sir. Now.
Yep, those were 2 real good stories, real nice stories to have there. Ghost Pepper says, honestly, I never saw what everybody else saw in Darby. He's always been just another guy to me. I think, honestly, I'm going to go ahead and call it. He didn't do himself any favors by being as low down as he was and having as big a personality. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I ain't saying that he shouldn't have been him. I'm not saying that. But when we got I help coach 8th grade team, right? We got one kid who, as long as we ain't practicing, he's 10 foot tall and bulletproof. You know what I'm saying? He's always running his mouth, and he's the best player you ever did see.
Yeah.
We actually get out there and start practicing, he can't do nothing right. And I'm not saying that Darby couldn't do nothing right, but if you're going to have that loud of a mouth, you got to be able to back it up.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he wasn't able to back it up consistently enough. Another undrafted guy, Nathan Ladman.
Yep.
So we had a lot of undrafted guys. Nathan Ladman made it, and he was making some serious plays last couple of games in preseason. So they obviously liked what they saw out of him. And if you do end up moving on from Deion Jones, you're going to have linebackers.
Yeah, he played well, man. I mean, he caught the tip ball from Troy Anderson's, pass rush and getting the pressure. So that was good to see. I mean, but he was making consistent plays all throughout preseason. So
and the dude wears a neck roll. You gotta you gotta respect a guy who goes out there in a neck roll like that. That's right, that old school neck roll. Like, let's see. Rex agrees with you. He says for them not to add Abdullah to the 53 feels kind of like they have a name in mind to back up Grady. And that's possible too. They could be in the works of like making trades or what have you, so just like, don't think this, I know it, I've said it a million times and I'll keep saying it. Don't think this is the final 53 just because this ain't.
Yeah.
Jarek Butler says, do you guys think Alford will get any time if Hayward or Oliver don't live up to what's expected? I feel like Alford, the way Toby feels about Bernhardt. So,
Yeah, everybody in that cornerback room is going to get some time, Doc. Trust me there. It's going to be a heavy rotation there and a lot of different packages that they're going to roll out there. So I would expect and anticipate D. Alford to get some good shared snaps in this 17-week season.
I think so too, especially with, Isaiah Oliver still coming back in a sense.
Yeah.
Like they felt like they, that's it. They felt like they had a good thing in him and Ford. Both of those guys got some real heavy work at the nickel position, which is where they got work on the outside as well. So I think both of those guys they didn't like what happened last year when Oliver went down. It seemed like everything kind of fell apart. So they were bound and determined not to have that happen this year.
Right.
Let's see. Jarek Butler says, do you guys think Ridley is watching? I don't know what Ridley's doing. He may be trying to get out of Atlanta. Everybody trying to rob his house and stuff.
Yeah, man.
He may just be trying to get somewhere. Let's see. D. Alford earned it. The Real says Bernhardt D. Alford made it. I'm glad. Julian Edelman. That's who it was.
I was gonna say it, but we had them got a little further down, so I ain't even want to.
Yep. Julian Edelman. That was like if Bernhardt can be that dude. Yeah. Like he's already building a rapport with Ridder, and if you do end up planning to like hand the reins over to Ridder, that could be a interesting dynamic there.
Yeah, very possible. Yep.
Josh Cancel says, we will be fine with the receivers we have. The offense will be versatile with Patterson in the mix. Pitts and London is all the receivers we need. Our defense will be top 10 this year. I would love to share your confidence there on the top 10 defense, but it is interesting. At one point in time in the offseason, we thought we were going to have a basketball team for receivers, but it turns out that Auden Tate didn't make it. Geronimo Allison didn't make it. So yes, you still got like big targets in London and Pitts and Patterson, but like all the short guys made it.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what, JR. I am very excited about this wide receiver group. I mean, we literally went from looking like we weren't gonna have anything going into the offseason, right? And now look where we are. Now these guys aren't proven. I mean, Drake London still has to prove that he was worth the 8th overall pick. Brian Edwards still has to show that in his third year, what they say, wide receivers are supposed to be, eye openers and really taking it to the next level. We still have to see all of that, but right. I believe there's promise, at least on paper.
I agree with you. I think so too. Like what we saw a little bit out of Edwards in the Jets game, he looked pretty good. Granted, it was just one catch, but what you did see out of London was promising. Mm-hmm. Sounds like he's going to be ready for week 1, but as they don't have to, they're not really talking about it per se. Let's see, but yeah, the wide receiver room I joked about, and Olamide Zaccheaus is going to make me eat my words. I joked in the early part of the offseason, Olamide Zaccheaus wide receiver 1. And how bad that looked. But, like, he's been a far more consistent receiver than I've given him credit for.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's going to be interesting to see what he does this year fully in that, like, what I feel like is going to be the Russell Gage role or that slot receiver, type role.
Yeah.
So, all right. The chat is bringing up some other names that
Let's go.
That we might be interested in. Kimiko Turi is back on.
I was going to get to him, but yeah.
Looked like he made the wrong choice by going to San Francisco over Atlanta. But hey, he gets to rectify. He can come to Atlanta now if he wants,
If we want him.
That's right. If we want to pull the trigger on him. Alec Lindstrom's back on the market from Dallas.
That's who I want.
Yeah.
If he clears waivers, I hope the Falcons go after him.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind them putting a waiver claim on him.
Because he can be a nice backup left guard.
Right.
Until the center spot open.
Yep, I agree there, especially if they're not 100% decided on like whether it's Jallman or Hennessy.
Yeah.
Jared Butler says, do you guys think Walker replaces Deion Jones or Evans, or how do you see that playing out? Think he's replacing him? He's already replaced him.
Yeah, he already replaced him.
Like, Walker's already replaced Deion Jones.
Yeah.
Like, your two starting linebackers are Michael Walker and Rashad Evans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and their backups, as it stands right now, are Troy Anderson and Nick Ladman, and I think that's it, huh? And Deion if he stays on the. Like the reason why I say that, because Deion played almost the entire. He did play the entire half, and he played into the third quarter of the Jacksonville game. So, like, they're trying to let him put as much tape out there for whoever else might want to come in and give them something for him.
Yeah, well, okay, yeah. I ain't sure it was enough good stuff on tape, but anyway.
Well, I didn't say it was good, just I said tape.
Yeah,
I wasn't quantifying what kind of tape it was.
Yeah, they're going to be keeping him halfway through the season, if not the whole season, because you can't cut him at this.
Oh, yeah, they don't do nothing for you to cut him other than to open up a roster spot.
Yeah.
Let's see. P. Rich says, still can't believe they took Schaefer over Slayer. Yeah, they might be kicking themselves on that one. I don't know. But I, myself, am not going to get too wound up over a 6th-round offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Like, honestly. When you got, somebody brought up the name, but when you got the Oakland Raiders cutting their last year's first-round pick in Alex Leatherwood.
Oh, yeah, Leatherwood, yeah.
And still owing him millions of dollars. I'm not worried about, cutting a 6th-round draft pick that will probably end up on the practice squad anyway.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, what we're seeing, they're not afraid to cut him. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like draft status and capital shouldn't be what's holding you on this roster. We're so conditioned to that, to thinking that. Like, even with Brian Edwards, they traded a 5th round for him next year. Well, that shouldn't be enough to keep him on the roster. Not if competition is the true driving force here.
Yeah.
I'm just using Brian Edwards as an example. Like, if he's disappointed this year, and you shouldn't be afraid to walk away from him.
Right.
So, and Schaefer had a real bad play on that interception, that first play of the game. Schaefer blocked the complete wrong direction. Everybody else was flowing to the right. Like, the backside tackle's the one that should be sealing off the backside. And, Schaefer turns around and blocks, to the left when everybody's going right. And he lets the defensive tackle, who held up because he thought it was a screen because he was able to just to come right through. He held up for a split second, which inadvertently caused a bad throw or a bad decision from Desmond Ridder for that interception. All right, so keep on rocking. But yeah, I'm not too worried about cutting Schaefer. You can say whatever. Like, I know Slayer has performed well, but there was no guarantee that he was going to perform well. Casey Cost says Fontenot is praying that they could put Tangelo and Abdullah on the practice squad. He has actually. I'm praying for that. That's the game they're playing right now, right? It is who they think can make it through waivers. Mark Turner says he's not a backup QB and not a backup tight end. I guess he's talking about Felipe Franks, maybe? I don't know. Wallace Smith says Felipe is not a QB anymore. I know that, like, in my mind, he's not, but they keep running him out there at the end of preseason games and giving him snaps at QB, so.
Yeah, he might not be a QB anymore in the sense that we're thinking, but you best believe that's one of the reasons he's on his roster right now. It ain't just because his tight end prowess either. It's because he has the flexibility to be that emergency QB should you need him and have to use him.
Yep.
Because there's no way you're going to tell me. Now, I pencil Felipe in as making the roster, but you cut Ferkser and Michael Pruitt, who was having great preseason. And Michael Pruitt just came in.
Right.
And,
right. Like,
and was catching comfortably.
And yeah, was doing good too. Like, was looking good in. That's the part that, like, at all of it, that's the part that confuses me. Ferkser and, Pruitt. That's, like, I may not like it, but I can understand, Huntley and Olsen. I get it. I may not like it, but I get it. I don't get Ferkser and Pruitt. Not both of them. Like, there's got to be something up their sleeve there.
They got to have something up their sleeve. And we're going to see what it is soon.
Okay. Let's see. Bridget Kelsey says, hey, what's going on, Bridget? Tron McBride says, what's up, P4P? Is there anyone who was cut from another team that you would like to see in Atlanta? There's a wide receiver from the Tampa Bay Bucks. Johnson was his last name.
Oh, yeah.
He's been having a real good preseason, real good offseason. It was just a numbers game down there. When they brought in Julio, that kind of, spelled the end for him there. So, I wouldn't mind bringing him in maybe, and I wouldn't mind bringing in, I wouldn't mind bringing in Danny Shelton for a workout.
Yeah.
And there was another defensive lineman. And that's it. That's all I can think of right now. Is there anybody that we haven't talked about yet that you want to see?
Like I said, the only guy really I'm most interested in is Alec Lindstrom.
Yeah.
That's a guy I was high on.
Yep.
And I'm very interested to see if he clears the waivers that the Atlanta Falcons may go out to him.
Yeah, I would be interested.
Other than that, I'll let the rest surprise me.
False Start Falcon says, Goldman retirement really sucks next year. One of those draft picks should be a DT, more than likely, or even signing somebody. Let's see. Mark Turner says, it's time to bring in Treader. Treader retired. That dream is dead, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Tony Rice says, hey, Pound for Pound family, I am late to the stream, but I'm on time. Hey, man, you here. That's all that matters to us.
Yes, sir.
Xavier Hendon says, Marlon Davidson is probably gone. To IR for sure. And possibly he may even be like, they may put him on IR and then release him from IR with a settlement kind of thing. Who knows? But I don't see Marlon Davidson playing for us this year. Rico Soul says, we need catching tight ends. I don't think Parker Heath is really that guy. I don't know. He caught a touchdown in the Detroit game. So, I don't know. They must feel pretty good about him. I know that they can give him that H-back type look, that fullback, tight end, hybrid. Let's see. Josh Gillum says, sup, fellas? What's going on, Josh?
What up?
Fred Butt says, when Dion gets back in shape, he starts. I think that ship has sailed, my friend.
That ship is done, Doc.
Yeah, I know. I feel your love for him, Fred, but I think that one is done, my friend. Brandon Bookstand says, I can't wait for real football. We are getting close.
Oh, man, yeah.
Tony says, I'm hoping the Falcons will reclaim and re-sign a few of the players they've released. I'm sure they will. Like, I can almost guarantee you they will. ATL Down says, Jalen Mayfield should have got cut. That's possible. There could be, a deal there where he ends up on IR, or they may not be ready to walk away from him yet. Just because we are doesn't mean they are. Because believe me, we are. Like we all are, right? Yeah. Josh says, hate to look back at the what ifs, but if we had taken TJ Watt over Tack and Debo over Caleb McGarry, I don't know. Hey man, right now Caleb McGarry is he might be trying to. He's fighting for his life over there and holding off Jermaine Ifedi. So we might be getting a real good version of Caleb McGarry. But yeah, TJ Watt, that one hurts, man. I spent a lot of time that pre-draft on TJ Watt. And to see us like pick Tack, who's out of the league now, that one hurts.
Yeah.
P. Rich says, gotta disagree with y'all on that. If Slayer was on our roster, I think he'd be top 6 for sure. That's possible. The point I was making is that he was a 6th round guy. That means there was a lot of other teams who passed on him along the way as well. So
Yeah, wasn't just us.
right. That doesn't mean that we were right or wrong, but they liked, I guess, the nastiness or toughness of Schaefer, even though it didn't translate as of yet. I would imagine that he ends up on the practice squad if I had to take a real guess at it. Let's see. James Williams says, what's good, pound for pound? Ready to start the season? Yes, sir. We are definitely ready for that. Delilah says, we have to keep in mind that the coaches see way more than we see. Yeah, that's hard for a lot of people to admit.
Yeah.
Like we see these players on, clips, on like open, like public stuff. Like we don't get to see them day in, day out. So who knows? Our good buddy Charleston Nash, he says, what's up, Toby and JR? It's been a minute. Yes, it has.
Yeah.
He says, how are y'all and your families? Doing pretty good. Getting school started,
good,
all
man.
that good stuff. He says, to be honest, God has been revealing my heart to me. Well, that's good that you're getting some personal growth there. He has been showing me how I can use the Falcons to ultimately to his glory. Well, Paul teaches us that we do all things to the glory of God. So
right.
Not some things, all things. So I'm glad to hear that. Dre Murphy says, Tyler Johnson. That's the wide receiver. Tyler Johnson from the Bucks.
Man, we appreciate you.
Man, you do. Look, we got the best chat room. We got the best folks in on the net that come and watch us because they're all about helping and keeping us going in the right direction. Let's see. Atlanta Down says Falcons should trade for Mims. That would be interesting. That Denzel Mims from the Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. But you also got to figure, like, they have their 3-headed monster in Pitts, London, and Patterson.
Yeah.
So, like, that's, to me, in my mind, that's what the, like, aerial attack is really going to run through. You're going to have some, some good splash plays from Zacchaeus and Hodge every now and again and things like that. These are going to be like chain movers and check downs and stuff like that. But I think the vast majority of the offense is going to run through Patterson, Pitts, and London.
Yeah.
Let's see. Josh says we should take a QB early next year if we have a bad year. Then we'll have $100 million in cap to build around him. Depends on what is the cause of a bad year, right? Like if the cause of the bad year isn't the quarterback play, and you're happy with the quarterback play, then maybe you use that high draft pick for like a Will Anderson or something like that, or you use the draft pick for like that high draft pick for, you start building yourself a rock solid offensive line. So it'd be interesting to see like how that goes out. So, I mean, don't just be so focused on the fact that you got to take a QB next year, because I'll tell you this, it ain't been just one person saying it. Like Desmond Ridder has impressed a lot of people in this preseason.
He has captivated the minds of the media world. And I'm going to tell you, that is the start of what a franchise QB is, right? Somebody that can captivate the media world and have them talking, someone who brings the leadership qualities. And that was something I wanted to see, and Desmond definitely brings that. I don't know if we're going to be taking a quarterback next year, because I think Desmond has shown enough that has both Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith smiling from ear to ear on what they've seen just out of the little sample size that they've seen out of these 3 preseason games.
Right. I mean, to the fact that you got guys like Dan Orlovsky talking about Desmond Ridder's arm is easily 20 to 30% stronger than what they saw in college.
Mm-hmm.
Like the throws that he is making is with a lot more like zip and accuracy, and like there were still times that you saw him throwing kind of behind his receiver, but wasn't nearly as bad as what you saw in college. So yeah, Desmond Ridder is like I'll give it to you, man. He's impressed me over the. Even though, like, oh well, Jr. That's the quarterback that you wanted. Don't get it twisted. I didn't want a quarterback this year. I just figured that Desmond Ridder was the one that best matched up to what Arthur Smith was trying to do. Right? So, and that has shown. And he's, in a sense, putting crow in my mouth by how well he's playing. Now, it's obviously against backups. We have to keep that in a preference, in perspective. Like, he's playing against backups, but he's like looking good. Like that, he had that opening interception was a bad throw, or was a bad read. Good throw, just a bad read. And then the interception at the end of the half, like
that was Arthur Smith, yeah.
Right.
You can't call that type. I mean, I understand what they were trying to do. I mean, it's preseason.
You got to try.
You just
stuff.
Trying different stuff to see if you can get yourself in field goal range or whatnot before the half is over with. But that and even Arthur Smith admitted that was on him right there.
Right.
The first play when he threw it, he was trying to move over and line up with the wide receiver. That is a no-no.
Right.
In the NFL, because any hint that you give a DB doing stuff like that, whether you're staring them down or trying to move in the direction of the wide receiver and you're not necessarily on the run doing that, you're going to tip your hand real good and they're going to be right there just like they was on that first interception.
Exactly. So, I mean, there's Ridder wasn't perfect, but, I'll say this. He looked as encouraging as, as far as play goes, as, guys like Zach Wilson, guys like Daniel Jones. Oh, well, those guys aren't working out. All I'm saying is that for a third-round guy, he's performing as well, and if not better, than some of these first-round guys that we've seen in the past. Yeah. So, I don't think there's a real part of me that thinks even if they end up with a real bad season, that they're not going to go QB in the draft.
Build the defense. Like I said before, Ridder, if he has a defense, you don't need him to be the hero of a game. Just don't mess it up. And you saw that in this game here. That defense, man, they was put in some bad field position situations, but they were like, okay, no problem. They came out there and played just as hard being on the other side of the 30 than anywhere else on the field. And that was the first time I've seen that out of a defense, even though it was against backups. But for them to come out like that after that first play, that interception, and hold them to a field goal, that was impressive. And they kept doing it. Only drive they gave up was the one before the end of the half. Yep. That's it. That's the only touchdown they gave up.
That's it. They looked good. They looked in control that entire game.
Yeah.
Let's see. Millie Mills says, tell me why Marlon Davidson is still here again, because they can't put him on IR yet. That's the only thing I can figure, because that's what everybody keeps talking about. Oh, a lot of these guys are going. So there must be like some kind of rules, some kind of stipulation that says they can't do certain things until a certain time. So I feel like tomorrow you're going to have a lot of guys going IR, and a lot of these guys get brought back. Wallace Smith says we're not drafting a QB next year. And then that's followed up by Be Passionate says Desmond is a solid future QB. And that's the feeling I have this year as of right now. Let's see. ATL says we won with Ridder getting early reps. Yes, we won with that, and we won with extended looks. Like as much as Ridder got to play, like that was good for us. That was good to see what we had there. That was good to see how he can bounce back from an interception. Like how he handles 3rd and 9, and converting some of those real big third downs deep in his own end zone. Tony, let's see. Bridget says he might not even play this year, so how are you just going to draft another QB again? You got to give him time. I'll say this. There's obviously a scenario that if the coaching staff falls in love with a guy like C.J. Stroud or whatever, and they're within striking range, then I'm not going to fault him for it. Like, that's the good thing about Ridder, in a sense. You're not beholden to him. like because of it being a 3rd round pick, it's not a I got to do this, type deal. But I just, as of right now, I don't necessarily see it happening.
Yeah.
Willie Doc tipped us $5, which we appreciate.
Well, I appreciate that.
He said, y'all brought excellent content this entire training camp preseason. Appreciate that. He says, with the roster now, are we still only winning 5 games? Keep up the great work. Right now, I'm still in the 5 to 7 market. I may even go as far as to say like 8 games, maybe. But, right now, my expectations are that we are far more competitive than last year. That's what my expectation is. Does that translate into wins or success? I don't know. But I feel like this year we're going to be in a lot more games than we were last year. What do you think, Doug?
After this, I'm starting to look for a place that sells crow.
Oh.
I don't know, JR. I tried not to drink the Kool-Aid. I really did. But when I saw these moves that they were making as far as building this roster in the 53, and the guys that they cut showed me that there's more depth than we probably realize or want to give them credit for. Now, that fact will remain when week 1 comes and we see if we're able to shut down Alvin Kamara,
right,
because they did very well stopping the run, right? And I can see if they're able to do stuff like that and keep extra yardage from happening with these wide receivers and stop these quick screens, man, we might be getting to the QB a lot.
Yeah.
More than what people realize. And if that happens, JR, man, I'm telling you right now, I need to find me a place that fries some real good crow.
I'll say this.
And I'm going to be willing to eat it.
Yeah, I'll say this. If some of these second-year guys, especially on defense, take a step, like your Adi Ogundejis, your Richie Grants, your Taquan Grahams, if these guys take a considerable step, that's going to go a long way. And you've already seen Arnold Ebiketie like getting pressure. And you've already seen, D'Angelo Malone applying pressure and also like just being a playmaker. Like tipping passes, covering block punts. So, it's encouraging. Now we just got to see him do it and see him consistently do it.
Right.
Right. So that's where I'm at. Let's see. All right. Gremlin says he'll play if we are out of playoff contention. Talking about Ridder. That's possible. Yeah. It just depends on how Marcus is playing. Because that's something else. Like we're writing off Marcus in a sense because of how much we've seen Ridder. But if Marcus comes out and recaptures what made him a Heisman winner, like especially if he's in a system now that is better suited to his ability and isn't forcing him to be a traditional drop back quarterback, you may have a situation where you could ride Marcus for 2-3 more years.
Yeah.
And really give Ridder a chance to grow and learn. So, like, there's a scenario where we're good at QB again for the next, 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, that possibility is definitely there.
So, that is that's a distinct possibility. All right, let's see here. Justin N says, I think 8 or 9 wins. Bliss says, you're right, too optimistic. 5-12, maybe. Nick says, last year, just happy we were in playoff contention. Yes, but on paper, we have a much harder schedule this year. So we'll see how that plays itself out. The ever optimistic Fred says, I say 10 wins and the playoffs. Of course you do, Fred.
I mean, the defense can look.
Hey, man. It ain't out of the realm of possibility.
Play that we're playing against this year. Count how many elite QBs we got this year.
What?
Besides Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford.
Oh.
That's it.
That's about it. Yeah. I mean.
That's it, Doc.
Yeah.
And you know what that means? You better not let any of them non-elite QBs get over on you, man, you better be throwing the kitchen sink at them jokers and tricking them every way you can because they are still wet behind the ears.
That's right.
Dog.
That's right. Yep. Now let's see. Chris James says, "Oh, he brings up the quote, Jesus girls and Marcus Mariota." That was from yeah. I can't pull it, but yeah, I know what you're talking about there. ATLN says, "Mary Goda, let's go." That's they hope, right? Let's see. Justice says, "Wow, what if Mariota becomes what he always should have been? That'd be a heck of a story."
It really
that's
would.
it. I mean, look, when Kirk Cousins went to Minnesota, didn't nobody think nothing about that? And I'm not like, oh well, because Kirk Cousins, he's actually played pretty good up there. Like if you look at his stats and his numbers, he's like,
yeah, he's gotten better.
He's not the reason why they've been losing. It's been that defense is the reason why they've been losing. Let's see. Gremlin says Ram, Chargers, Bengals. If you split the division, that's 6 losses. If you don't, slip up one game. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've got some real tough customers, like some real tough teams to play against, and so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But it all starts week 1, like straight up and down. And
Jameis Winston.
Yep. Millie Mills says Herbert's not elite? Question mark. What do you mean?
And that.
What he means by like not elite is like anybody who, like, it's hard to say who's elite when you only have like 2 or 3 years in the league.
Exactly.
Okay, that's the point that Toby's making. Like at this stage in a lot of these guys' careers, like the Joe Burrows, the Justin Herberts, they're playing off of like basically raw talent.
And they have not seen everything yet, y'all.
So
they ain't seen everything yet.
Right. So that's what, like, yes, we can look at their talent and say that their talent is elite. But to put them, I am very hesitant about putting a quarterback in, elite status just off of a couple years. But that's just kind of how we look at it.
Yes, talented, true.
Right.
I'm not saying they're not talented.
Right.
What I'm talking about is that when I made the statement about wet behind the ears, that's exactly what I mean. They haven't seen a lot of everything. And so this allows Dean Pease and that defense to draw up stuff to confuse them. All right. And you have the athleticism to slow down them running out of the pocket as well with guys you brought like D'Angelo Malone, Troy Anderson, Arnold Ebiketie.
Right.
These guys now actually can play the edge.
Right. No, that's exactly what it is. You got guys now that are going to be able to chase folks, contain the edge, keep them in the pocket, and make them make those decisions. And that right now is where they may not necessarily be as elite, is with their decision making. That's what makes guys like Stafford and Brady so terrifying, is they may not have the elite arm, so to speak, but you can't confuse them. You can't throw stuff at them that they ain't never seen.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Willie Doc says, Grim, what was the vibe from the other fans at the Benz? Hopeful, pessimistic, encouraged? Everybody seemed to be having a real good time. Like when we've been at open practices, up at training camp, even the preseason game, there seems to be a new energy around the team. Like new faces bring new energy, right? Like the fact that you have a Mariota, the fact that you got Ridder, it's not the same old thing. The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Now you have something different. So people get excited about different just on alone. So, except for that one guy, when we were at the open practice, no matter what they did, that guy wasn't happy.
Yeah.
Do you remember who I'm talking about there?
Yeah, we went to sit down.
Yeah. It wasn't nothing. They couldn't do nothing.
Like, man, they can't do that in a real game.
Yeah. he was tripping me out with that one. Let's see. Okay, Dre Murphy. Nope, they're talking. Money Hall. What do you expect from Carter and Richie Grant? And do you see Bernhardt doing anything? I initially see Bernhardt making his name on special teams to begin with. If somebody goes down, he might get a chance to get in there. But Carter, I don't know, man. Like, maybe.
We ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
So we don't know.
Like Lorenzo Carter, I hope we get the same guy that ended his season in New York. 5 games with 5 sacks. That's what you're hoping for.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Grant, like Richie Grant. You hope that he's taking that next step. Like last year, he was thrown in a lot of different positions with the corner and then safety and all this other jazz. There's a lot he had to learn. So hopefully now with him being able to focus on just one position, maybe we can start seeing some strides, start seeing that playmaker that made him worth that second round pick.
Yeah. So I got to continue my tradition. Like every year, I like to see what the team that we're going to play, what they have to say about the Atlanta Falcons. I'm definitely going to be interested and have my ears tuned in to see what New Orleans Saints have to say about what our team looks like now compared to what it has been in years past. So I'm excited about that. I can't wait. That's probably gonna be next week when you start hearing more about what they see from us.
Yep, I agree. That'll probably get into it next week. And now next week we're gonna attempt to try to have a real big show. I don't know how this is gonna work. I'm inviting a lot of our fellow Falcon content creators to come on. So if you tune in next week and you see a whole bunch of faces, just bear with it. We're gonna try to get a round table and bring y'all some different perspectives than what we normally bring. But Toby, I think that's gonna do it for us tonight, my man. Unless there's something else that you got.
No, man, I don't have anything, man. I think I've emptied out
the bucket.
My bucket.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, as always, Falcons fans, y'all can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128. That's GRIMM1128. Toby.
And I'm at Toby D1991.
There you go. Keep an eye on the channel as we always try to bring you some, one-off type interesting videos and links in the bios for merch if you want it, Patreon if you want it, all that good fun stuff. None of it's required, but all of it's appreciated. So, as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.